When Night Gallery ended after its third season, there was all kind of rumors and speculation that there was a numerous amount of scripts that were going to be ready for if there was going to be a season 4. Now today we're going to go over a little bit of these. Now according to published reports, most of these unproduced scripts, most of which were written or adapted by Rod Serling and were considered or either rejected or left unproduced for various reasons. Now the first is called A Gentleman from Prague, based on a short story by Stephen Grando. The story involves a man named Simon Ducanej arriving home in Britain after traveling on a continent. He calls his business associate Abel Spears, and when the later arrives, they examine and discuss a gold chain that Degrib stole from a grave in Europe. Then the occupant of the grave turns up. Now, another one was No Such Thing as a Vampire, based on a short story by Richard Matheson. In a small town in Transylvania, a doctor's wife discovers puncture marks on her neck. Fears abound that she's being attacked by a vampire. Now, this story was later adapted in the 1977 film Dead of Night. Now, another one was Does the Name Grimsby Do Anything to You?, written by Rod Serling. The story delves into the delicate psyche of an astronaut, driven by his Type A zeal to be the first man to walk on the moon. But he unravels when he finds and destroys evidence through his moonwalk that he was in fact second to an obscure and discredited scientist from a century earlier. Now, although presented during the early planning stages for the show, the idea was jettisoned, but Serling later developed it into a short story and included in the 1971 book, Night Gallery. Now, the next one is Let Me Live in a House, based on a story by Chad Oliver. The story dealt with questions of existence and identity, the Kafkaesque puppets on a stage concept, a concept previously explored on the Twilight Zone. Now, A Nightmare Morning was an adaptation of Robert A. Heinlein's Day, a delusional patient in a New York hospital who believes his reality has been manufactured by the alien culture as a zoo environment to him, Earth's last survivor. His delusion turns out to be real. Now, Reflections is the inferior retread of the cemetery. Now, Let Me Tell You About the Dead was based on Graham Greene's A Little Piece of the Edgware Railroad. It tells of a man named Craven who tries to convince others of his delusion that the dead have been rising from their graves. In a second story thread, there is a Ripper-style killer on the loose. Both story threads merge when Craven meets one of the Ripper's victims, zombified, in a darkened movie theater. Now, Quartet Doomed is a thinly disguised take on Agatha Christie and Then There Were None, stocked with characters out of a poor radio drama. The loud-mouthed Texas oil man, the effete society columnist, the obsequious backstabbing assistant, the gold-digging ex-chorus liner. They are invited to witness the reading of a dead mystic's will. Instead of bequeathing to them his riches, he hands them all death sentences for their part in ruining his life. For the rest of the play, the four characters try to avoid the circumstances of their demise. Now, The Onlooker, written by Rod Serling, follows the story of a cold-eyed hitman who loses his professional cool, then his life, when he tries to escape a mysterious man who dogs his trail, death. Now, in How Does Your Garden Grow, an adaptation of John Collier's short story Green Thoughts, a well-written character study involving an old gardener, his cat, a pair of dotty neighbors, a young girl claiming to be the widow of his old gardener's dead son, and a man-eating plant. Now, The View of Whatever was written by Rod Serling, and this is the one that should have been produced. With its familiar theme of nostalgia and loss, it tells the story of a Joe Sprague who suffers the loss of his only son during the Vietnam War. In deep depression, he develops a desperate desire to escape from a president he hates. Taking form as a strange illusion, he claims that his childhood past can be viewed from his bedroom window. It is now a portal in 1930s Birmingham, New York, a perennial summer day with parks and band concerts and children on bikes. Sprague's family doctor, Ike Colby, is sympathetic, assuming him that everyone desires a return to innocence. He relates a cherished moment from his past, stationed on Haiti during the war. Colby shared with a French nurse a love affair so passionate that it would make Browning stumble for words. Sympathy, though, was not enough. Ultimately, the despairing Sprague takes his chances and steps through that window, and it is once again summer. He is 10 years old, savoring his mother's lemonade before heading off to play with his neighborhood pals. He looks pensively into the camera as we dissolve to the present from which he escaped. His family is distraught at finding him missing. Colby tries to console him, but as he looks out Sprague's bedroom window, the portal shows his own past, a wave-lapped shore in a tropical setting, and a familiar, dark-haired woman beckoning. As the vision fades, Colby finds comfort in knowing that Joe Sprague has finally gone home. Now the last one is called Where Seldom Is Heard, written by Gene Kearney, a mere vignette, an extended sketch with its punchline turning on hunchback bell-ringer Quasimodo's deafness. Now, for me, The View of Whatever would be more of a, Return to Willoughby and stuff like that. But I think that should be done into some kind of, I thought it would be brought up to the new Twilight Zone, but it never was put together. But for me, again, does the name Grimsby do anything to you? Which was sort of like the old motif about making it to the moon, but at the time 1973 was around, that was kind of old hat. So it was supposed to be in an early episode, but again, the idea was jettisoned. So how it works with a lot of Night Gallery scripts, some of them were Rod turned them into his own short stories. But like I said, it was just, again, extras on the theme, where Serling had certain themes that he did in Twilight Zone, and has his own production before and after Twilight Zone. But I think, again, the Let Me Tell You About the Dead, and A View of Whatever. I've read different authors have written about it, including Scott Skelton, in his book about Night Gallery, and it's quite interesting because anybody can play their parts. Because we often look out a window and think about the past in a sense of perfection. Is it our memory, or is it the past and the perfection has been thrust upon us? Because I'm a type of person, I don't look back at my past with too much fondness, because it's full of poverty, and I suffered from meningitis as a young child, and I can't remember up until age 8 or 9 most of my youth, and I recapture it through distant instigation memories. But again, The View, Whatever, again, if I was at $10 million, if I was going to produce a Rod Serling movie, that's what it would be. So ladies and gentlemen, that's the Lost Night Gallery episodes. If you like what we're doing, we're a Night Gallery podcast. Let us know with a like, comment, subscribe. And don't forget, the last script you write might be your best. Have a good day. Bye.